Sorry, I said that I did engineering, but no, that was not. After that, I did business until PhD. My name is Dr. Kaleba Kuku. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. That's our Dean, School of Business and Economics, Kisii University. We are happy to have you in our midst. At this juncture, I want to invite my friend and colleague, Dr. Major. Major, karibu sana. Major is the COD Languages, Linguistics and Languages. Sijui gani na kujanga ya kwanza, Kisii University. We are happy to have you with us here. Karibu sana Daktari, we want to give you around some 10 minutes to make some presentation. Then we can give students if they have questions, and we answer before we break for lunch. Thank you so much. Karibu sana.
Sorry that I had to have that whispering moment. Now, thank you, Dr. Diego, for giving me this platform and the kind of constraint I always like. And the constraint I've been given is I have to speak within 10 minutes. Now, God help me. Okay, so I'm sorry for those people who are very technical. I would have also done the PowerPoints. But let me tell you, the most interesting thing about my talk is that I was invited for this yesterday. So when the leader who invited me, I can see she's looking here. She don't want me to say her name. She wants to keep silent. So I told her, just go back and do a very formal letter and tell me exactly what I should speak about. And so the first thing is, if I have to talk, because no one here would talk about me, they've just told you I was appointed a chair of department last year, so I'm not very comfortable with that title as yet. I have not really settled into it. Just at the end of the year, I was told, now you can take over. So I'm still trying to run the ropes. But then, so when I was confronted with that, so the next day, I got a letter on my table, nicely presented. It was so professional, a chain, that I got impressed, and I started asking myself, if it's so impressive, then it means that they want me to do a very good job about what I'm going to say. So then the first thing I did was to look at what they had on offer, and I saw words like leadership and managers in HR. And so I said, then what should I tell an HR as a linguist? So then I simply started a long flashback, my experience. I've stayed nearly my entire life around these Kisii Islands. And if I'm going to talk about corporate behavior, I would be limited to the corporates which I've seen around here. So I gave my talk a title. I said, okay, let me go in there and talk about an eclectic leadership for HR responsibilities. And then, as usual, my friend was talking about using a comma. I like the 2 dots, a colon. So I put colon and said, okay, then I should put something there like embracing soft skills and AI for leadership development. And luckily enough, as I was seated here, I heard him talk about soft skills as a HR practitioner. Now let me come back, and the first thing as I was seated there, I started thinking about is, you're calling yourself HR, human, so you are human. Does that mean you are necessarily humane? For me, I think what you should have highlighted is to tell them the H should add an E, that you should be humane. Because you can't practice soft skills unless you are humane. So then, basically, our make my random comments about a few things like soft skills, because I'm basically a communicator myself, and then random talks on, what it means. So, but basically people have this feeling that when you talk about soft skills, then one of the variables you have to think about is one, empathy. Do you have, if you are humane, you should be in a position to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And that's what essentially when I saw the golden rule, which is a nice Christian paradigm, and most people will tell you that most of us who are in the academy are more of very agnostic about things to do with Christianity. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. So the question is, when you tell me to think about being human, I think I should be humane. I should be what I was created to be. And what is a human person? The whole issue is like, there's this nice story about people being given abilities, or animals being given abilities in the manner of the things which they wanted to really have. Actually, even if you think about it in an evolutionary manner, why did we choose to be intelligent beings? Does it mean that we are cows are not intelligent? That's a question for you. So the question of us being humane, we have to kind of carry on issues to do with soft skills. So empathy, one. Then I qualify communication, not just communication, but open communication. The third aspect about soft skills is adaptability. Are you adaptable enough? And then lastly is the old elephant in the house, problem solving. And this is why people are very disappointed with most of our leadership, because we do not think about solving problems. Let me tell you why you distrust, like I had you distrust politicians, is because they work with arcane kind of systems where they think that in order for you to be a good leader, there's nothing which is there to solve. So the first thing you do is that you should create a problem and which you are capable of solving, and you solve it nicely. And then, sorry that if I have to mention, and when I look at the hustler movement, I have kind of thought about it, that they are always creating problems, and I'm waiting for that magical solution which will turn the coin. You just go into people's payslips and you plunder more than 70,000 shillings to build houses which these people don't see. In Kisii, there's no housing, whatever. So I ask myself, how is he going to get out of that problem? If you look at, these are common examples, I have to look at what is there. And when you plunder it that way, did the person who was giving that advice think about the shoes of the worker in this country? And anyway, maybe, I don't know. So the empathy aspect. Now, you cannot be empathetic unless, now let me come back. Every time I say something, I get like, I should kind of say there's this rejoinder every moment. Can you put yourself in the other person's shoes? And the first answer I gave, this is a rejoinder. You can't get into the other person's shoes. That's the paradox. But we hope that you do so. So how do you get into the other person's shoes? You get into the other person's shoes in the normal way. I have been there. What if you have never been there? So I went to a funeral recently, and someone was telling us, just don't comfort the person who's believed that you have also lost your sister, so you know what it feels like to be to lose your son. Okay, I think, and then he went on to say those circumstances are unique. Now, what is the way to be empathetic? The best way to be empathetic is to do absolutely nothing. is just to be there. It's sit there and shut up. Okay? And like my friend has said, use your ears. Listen in. There is listening in. Just listen in. Keep on waiting. Sit there, be still, and listen. And if I can surmise to risk one thing, if you are not prayerful, you cannot be empathetic. If you do not have a relationship with God, you can never be empathetic. Is that a very serious statement to make? Well, maybe in HR, God has not arrived. Then, number 2, open communication. Now, the next thing I do as usual, do we have open communication? Is it possible to have open communication? Then I come in, because mine today was not actually to tell you what you know. It's to make you kind of start thinking about what you know. Now, so here comes a rejoinder. You cannot have open communication. Because one, the workplace is full of people, like my friends put it in politics, only thinking about how I'm going to succeed. Now, if you are in your workplace and the only thing you are thinking is, how can I become the boss of this idiot next to me? So how are you going to be open to this other your friend? So open communication cannot happen until you know how to communicate. Now, let me bring in some claim. He gave me a very nice picture there. He said 53% is nonverbal. Basically, we say 95%, 10% verbal. Meaning that most of the time, the things which will be picked up are not necessarily the things which you expect. Now then, but let me put it this way, that most of the communication you do is unconscious. And there is no way you can't help it but communicate. So everyone is communicating. You are a message. I'm sure by coming here with my sweater and my and late, and with the rain having dropped on me because I walked from the other side of the university, I must have communicated something. And it was like, why couldn't he spend some time to be more serious? Wear a tie, wear a suit, be very presentable. And being your HR fellows, I think you couldn't give him a job because... So the question was, why did they ask this idiot to come and speak on this particular day? Now, the unconscious. Do you know that most of the time you are doing things unconsciously? For me to lift my leg and put it down, I am not conscious of it. Most of the things I'm doing, 99% of the time, I am not doing these things consciously. I spent a long time becoming what I am, and I didn't plan to be what I am. And so, the next thing is, how do you then claim to be in charge? Because if you're talking about conscious communication, how much unconscious communication do you do most of the time? That's why someone went in and drew a nice, you talk of systems like the Johari system. The known, they are known, they are known unknown. Is that it? And there is that part of you which you don't know, and no one will ever know. It's only God who knows. They are known unknown. Now, this is the unconscious part of you. And for you to be aware what you are communicating, then you need to start doing particular things. Now, as an HR person, do you have time when you look at yourself? I know ladies have their mirrors and they look at themselves the whole day. What do they do? Why are they on the mirror? Why do they look at the mirror? I say, okay, I think my lipstick has passed a little bit. Let me just wipe it around. Okay? But you have to have this habit of self-examination. At the end of the day, do you sit and look at the day and wonder, why was I doing that? Why did I say that? And then you ask your God to forgive you. Maybe if you are religious. But do you have a time to get to know yourself? If you have never looked at yourself, and you see, the very interesting thing is, there is no communication. You can't have any open communication unless you know yourself. Now, the big question, you can put it somewhere where you want. Sorry that I'm taking more than 10 minutes. My instincts tell me I must have talked for quite a while. And I'm not very interactive, so some people might have switched off. But I hope that by the end of my random speech, you'll pick something, some snippet here or there. Okay, so if your life, you're just unaware of who you are. You know, the biggest dictum, this one was even with the Greeks. They say Plato went to the oracle, and on the door of that oracle was written, "Know thyself." In the entire teaching in the Bible, you get to the point, know thyself. Maybe you belong to a particular different doctrine or whatever, dogmatic belief. But this idea of knowing thyself. Because my friend put that issue of knowledge. And myself, I do a lot of philosophical thinking about what's knowledge and how does science contribute to that, what we call knowledge. And we go back to the unique thing we call the epistemic. Okay? So if you have no epistemic, what we say, if you do not grasp the epistemic essence of something, then how do you know that you know? And most of the time I tell people, you don't know. Okay, so when you come back to open communication, then the other question you should worry about is, how do I then get to be open? Because the first thing is the assumption, there's a presumption there that you have total access to what you are going to say. You have total access to your mind. Now let me tell you, you do not have that privileged access to your mind. You are not, the mind is not, it's also a closed thing. And so, what is it you are taking out? What is it you are going to reveal to others when you do not have an access to your own mind? Of course, I have to be a bit philosophical about that, because in communication we get to these puzzles like, okay, how do I get to know what he's thinking? You know, it's the nice way we say, okay, I am here, I know what you know, and you know what I know, and I know what you know about what I know, and you know that you know what I know that I know. Okay? That is where we manage to get to this point where we can at least communicate and understand each other. You know, some of the things I've said here, if you've never heard about them before, you might get to understand. You'll wake up one day and you remember that talk by this young man who was given 10 minutes and was saying things at random. And then you realize that the depth of what I was saying from this